Hi guys, the Metal Maniac back again, and in this video I'm going to be doing a review on the album Severed Survival by Autopsy. This is their debut album, originally released in 1989. Yeah, it seems like 1989 was the big year for death metal. I mean, there were a lot of really big releases that year, along with this, like Altars of Madness by Morbid Angel, what was another one? Oh yeah, the Obituary's first album, which I can't remember the name of that one. And then there was another one. What was the other one? No, there was another one that was really big. I can't remember what it was. I don't think I own that one. But yeah. So 1989 seemed like it was a big year for death metal. Especially for new up and coming death metal bands. Yeah. So this was released in 1989, and band members, I'm pretty sure a lot of you who are fans of old school death metal will recognize one of the names. Hold on, let me get this out really quick. Oh, there we go. All right, so there are only 3 members. I don't know. Okay, so I don't know if this band is still going on now or not. But and I don't know if they're still just a 3-piece band or they have more members now. But let's see. But yeah, so there we go. Eric Cutter on guitar, Danny Corliss on guitar, and Chris Reifert on drums and vocals. Now, for those of you who don't know who Chris Reifert is, he's best known for being the drummer on Death's first album, Scream Bloody Gore. Yeah, he's best known for that, but he's done other stuff, although this and then Scream Bloody Gore is the only 2 albums I've heard him on so far. But yeah, he not only does the drums on this album, but he's the vocalist as well. I've never heard of, like, before this, I've never heard of a drummer also being the vocalist, so that's pretty impressive. Like, you would have to have extreme multitasking skills to not only drum, but also do vocals, so, yeah, that's very impressive. I mean, it's kind of also impressive to both do play the guitar and then also do the vocals. But it's even more impressive to drum and then do the vocals as well. But yeah, so those are the 3 band members, and then there's a picture of them on the back. Here's the front. Actually, I don't think this is the original artwork, or it's at least an alternative version that came out at the same time. But the original artwork is actually, believe it or not, the censored artwork. But the original artwork is actually on the back of the thing. There it is right there. Some guy getting torn apart by some blades. Yeah, so apparently this is the censored artwork, but I actually like this version better. I mean, yeah, the other one's okay, but it's just kind of meh. And I don't know, it just doesn't have like a lot of the texturing. It doesn't have a lot of textures that this artwork. Like, this one seems unfinished in a way where it's very simplistic in terms of detail, in terms of like adding sort of like textures. Where here it seems this artwork seems a lot more finished. Like, and I really like it too. Yeah, it's kind of meh compared to most death metal album art, but it's actually a pretty cool concept. Like, here's the thing: it's like a bunch of doctors leaning over a lamp, like a zombie surgeons or something, leaning over, doing surgery on most likely this guy right here. But I really like the concept because, like, if you look at it, especially if like you like put this up like that, or like you're laying down while looking at the artwork, it makes it seem like they're like the zombie doctors are actually doing surgery on you. But yeah, that's really cool. I really like it. The Autopsy logo is kind of dull compared to a lot of other band logos I've seen, especially death metal band logos. I mean, it's kind of okay. I mean, it's like the words autopsy, but they're all like sort of like squiggly. They're not perfectly well, they're not perfect lines. They're all squiggly, and there's sort of like blood coming dripping down from the bottom of the letters. But it's not the worst band logo I've seen. I've seen worse, but this one's okay. You know, it's simplistic, but it does its job pretty well. Um, but yeah, the actual songs. Okay, so before I get into the actual songs, I just want to mention that this album is very unique. I don't know, maybe the thing I'm about to say it's not, maybe it's not unique. Maybe it's a recurring thing on all the albums. But what I find unique about this album, because I've never heard it on any other album I've ever listened to, is that out of the bass, the drums, the vocals, and the guitars, the thing that's the most prominent is the bass. Like, yeah, even more prominent than the vocals most of the time, because I've never heard a bass not only be the most prominent thing on an album, but be the heaviest and the most like darkest sounding thing. Like or like seriously, like the bass out like matches the guitar even. The guitar is even in like how heavy it is and how prominent and how sinister it sounds. Like um, but yeah, the bass is like a really big sort of prominent sound on this particular album. Um, but yeah, okay, so track one, Charred Remains, is a really good song. Now, I've only really listened to this album twice so far, and so I don't really have I can't really go into much detail, because I guess I probably should have made this review later on after I've listened to it like a couple dozen times. But, I mean, I'll just mention what I can, just because, again, I've only listened to this album twice so far. But yeah, so Charred Remains is a really good song. Vocals are pretty good. The bass is prominent, but it gets more prominent throughout the tracks. Like, you get more and more prominent, but it's still really good. The drumming's pretty good. Yeah, Charred Remains, an awesome song. Second song, Service for a Vacant Coffin. It's pretty good. I really like that one. Disembowel is also a good one. Gasping for Air. Okay, the track number 4, Gasping for Air. I like the everything but the vocals on this song. Okay, here's the thing. Chris Reifert is kind of does the vocals in the style of Chuck Schuldiner, more particularly on the Scream Bloody Gore. Because here's the thing. Both on this album and Scream Bloody Gore, the death metal vocals vary. Like, just like Chuck Schuldiner on Scream Bloody Gore, Chris Reifert, he does a bunch of different style of death metal vocals. Like, he does low gutturals, he does high shrieks, he does very sort of raspy type vocals, and then he does like an in-between type where he does like, it's like raspy but high but and guttural, but like sort of in between all that big spectrum. So yeah, it's kind of like the same thing with Chuck on Scream Bloody Gore, but here on this particular song, I don't like his vocals, because he does something he doesn't do on the rest of the album. He basically sounds like Chris Barnes on the later, later on the Cannibal Corpse, on the early Cannibal Corpse albums, like from Butchered at Birth up till what was it, The Bleeding, where, I mean, it's not, his vocals aren't as bad as Chris Barnes is on those albums, but it's still pretty bad. Like, again, like with Chris Barnes' vocals on those ones, Chris Reifert's vocals on this particular song sound very of a very stereotypical version of death metal vocals, like very much a parody. And I don't think he's even trying to make it a parody or trying to make them stereotypical version. But it comes off that way. And it's not even, he doesn't even pronounce any vowels or any words. He just goes, rah, rah, like literally, rah, 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 rah. He doesn't even pronounce anything at all. And it just feels like, I guess he maybe trying to pay tribute to Chris Barnes, but it sounds horrible. And again, I like everything else about the song, Grasping for Air, except the vocals. But yeah, um, track number 6, Pagan Survivor is pretty cool. Track number 7, Impending Dread is also really cool. Oh yeah, and with track number 4, going back to track number 4 for a split second, there's this really cool sort of eerie sort of guitar, not really solo, but sort of like a really interesting riff that goes on for a short period of time. That's very cool. Anyway, back to track number 8, Severed Survival. The title track is pretty cool. I'd say, although it's not very memorable, like as a title track, it's still really good, but it's not something that's extremely memorable. But that I would be like, oh yeah, the title track, yes, like hearing it for the first time. I was like, it's pretty good, but yeah. Track number 9, Critical Madness, is pretty good. Track number 10, Embalmed, is pretty good. Track number 11, Stillborn, is also pretty good. And then you get to the bonus tracks. Like, I guess, I don't know if these bonus tracks are just stuff they did record but didn't actually get to put on the album for some reason, or if they were originally on an EP, maybe. I don't know. But all I know is that they're bonus tracks from somewhere originally. But the bonus tracks are starting with Funeral. I don't know how to pronounce this. It almost starts with the word funerary, but it goes off like reality. I don't know, funeral reality. I think that's how you pronounce it, funeral reality. I know it's a very strange word, but I don't even think it's a legitimately real word. But yeah, I don't know. But I like this one. It's probably my favorite track from the album. It's not even a main track. It's not even a typical song. It's an instrumental, and I love it. Now, it's not your traditional instrumental because there are they're technically not vocals in a way. Like, it's not singing. It's not death metal singing. It's just sort of Chris Reifert in this from time to time shrieking and growling, but there's not any words being said at all. It's just shrieking and growling and just sort of screaming. But yeah, again, they're not words being said at all. So it's technically still an instrumental. But yeah, it's my favorite track from the album. It's very eerie, very haunting. Extremely memorable too. Track number 13, Destined to Fester, is pretty cool. And then track number 14, In the Grip of Winter, is also pretty cool. So yeah, overall, I'm gonna give this an 8 out of 10. I mean, it could have been slightly better, like I said, if like the song "Gasping for Air" had better vocals, and the drum. Okay, seriously. Okay, so the drumming on this one I think is okay. I do prefer Chris Reifert's drumming on "Scream Bloody Gore" a lot better. There's a huge difference. Not really a huge difference, but hold on. But a pretty noticeable one. Hold on, give me a second. Okay, so there's a pretty noticeable difference between Chris Reifert's drumming on Scream Bloody Gore and then on this album. On Scream Bloody Gore, the drumming is a lot slightly more precise, slightly more honestly, it's slightly more precise, slightly more, ever so slightly more technical, and like, it's ever so slightly more precise, slightly more technical, and it's a bit more focused. Where on this album, though, it's slightly looser, slightly more laid back. I don't know. It's slightly looser, slightly less technical, slightly more just random and all over the place. But not over the place where it's technical, but all over the place, just like it's just random and not really thought out that well, just sort of on instinct almost. But yeah, I do prefer his drumming, Chris Reifert's drumming on Scream Bloody Gore, and I mean, his drumming might be different because I don't know if this is true or not, but it almost seems like the reason why his drumming was a lot more precise and a lot more technical on Scream Bloody Gore is maybe That's what Chuck wanted. Maybe Chuck wanted a lot more precise. He didn't want anything really loose or anything. I'm just speculating, but maybe Chuck just wanted a certain way of drumming on that album, and then that's what Chris Reifert did. Where on this album, it almost feels like on this album, Chris Reifert just did his style of drumming instead of like a style of drumming that someone else wanted. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just his drumming is okay. And then the only other thing that doesn't make this a higher than 8 ranking is the fact that even though this album's really good, it's not something that I find to be extremely great. Like, yeah, it's really good for an old school death metal album, but it's nothing groundbreaking or nothing that is like a mandatory listen. It's basically it's cool, but it's not anything that like is like um oh, everyone must listen to this album. Like, it's just sort of a casual listen rather than something I would probably go back to like again and again every single day. Like, it's just something that I would probably just listen to like I don't know, not every just once in a while, maybe more than that, maybe like I don't know, like a few days and then do something else and like I don't know. It just feels like even though it's a good album, it could have been a great album. But again, the fact that Chris Reifert's drumming on this one isn't even though it's good, it's not great. And then the vocals on that one song I can't stand. And yeah, I just think even though it's a good album, I think it could have been better. But yeah, here's the thing also, is the fact that it's something that I think won't appeal to the casual death metal fan. I think it's something that, one, you have to be a fan of old school death metal to really appreciate this album, and two, you have to like really, really, really dig deep. Like, you have to really like a certain more specific type of sound. But yeah, it's just something that I think like the casual death metal fan wouldn't really enjoy all that much, or more likely wouldn't really appreciate all that much. So yeah, you have to. I don't know. It's definitely it's definitely a unique sort of someone like I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about now. I'm going off into a weird sort of rant. I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, so that's my review of the album Severed Survival by Autopsy. Um, like I've said in probably my last video or the video before, expect a lot of album reviews throughout the month of August, because I have ordered a bunch of albums that will be arriving throughout August. So yeah, so that's it for this review, and I'll see you guys next time.